Hello everybody, today we are going to be going in depth to my forehand. So this is going to be the first ever forehand tutorial that I have ever done. I've been throwing forehand ever since I started playing, and we are going to jump right into that. Now obviously what I tell you guys is going to be completely different, could be completely different from what somebody else might tell you, or what you're used to. So you have to take what I tell you and try it out yourself. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work for you. But if it does, awesome. Let me know in the comments below after the end of this video if you go and try it and it works. So first we're gonna hop into grip. I mean, that's very important. So I have I guess you would call it stacked grip. There are other people that like to put their index finger back a little bit. I do not like to do that. I feel like I don't get as much power when I'm throwing. So I do like to put both fingers here. And then we have the thumb. Let's see where it is. Not straight out, but not all the way forward. It's just in a little bit and I'm giving it pressure. I'm pushing down on the disc. And then we have the ring finger here supporting the disc. Without that it'd be a little bit wobbly, a little weird to like throw just like this. So we have the ring finger and then the pinky is just resting up against the ring finger. So again, like I said before, what I tell you might not work for you. So especially grip, I have a super tiny hand. I mean, if you take your disc, any disc, like mine doesn't even cover the plate of this disc. So I have a small hand. So what I tell you might not work. Your hand might not comfortably do what mine does. It might be much too big. A good thing to do with grip when you're just starting out is taking the disc and just kind of shoving it in that little pocket that you have there, and then just closing your hand. Shove it in the pocket and close your hand, and that honestly right there is my grip. So shove it in the pocket, close your hand, and there's my grip. That's exactly what I use. So try that out. If it doesn't feel comfortable, then you can work with it a little bit. You really don't want any space in between the pocket right here and the disc. You don't want that space that you're seeing right there. So put it in and close your hand, and then that should be a good grip for you. Let's get into footwork. Okay, so with footwork, I'm gonna tell you what I do. Then I'm gonna walk away from the camera so you guys can see it on the back angle. Then I'll walk towards the camera so you can see it coming forward. And then I'll also do it sideways just so you guys can get 3 different angle views. So one thing about my walk up is when I'm getting in, like my pre-walk up is a little bit weird. I take a ton of steps in my pre-walk up, which it might vary from time to time how many pre-steps I take before the actual walk up. So you guys will see that when I'm walking. But the general walk up is about 3 steps, and let's see it now. So the 3 steps that everyone should be doing is, for a righty forehand, is left, right, left. So your left foot is the first foot. Your right foot is going to be when your disc and your whole body is getting ready to throw, and then that left foot is the plant, and that's when you're actually throwing the disc. So I'm going to go ahead and walk this way so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So here you see I'm starting to like walk a little bit. That's how I get myself into my 3 steps. Okay, and I'm going to walk towards the camera doing it. And then now I'll walk this way so you guys can get the side view. So again, like I said, those 3 steps there at the end is going to be pretty common over most players. You have people like Sexton who has a little bit of hop in there that he describes as like a crow hop. If that works for you, awesome. I've never seen it to work for me rhythm wise. I just like feel off when I kind of do a hop like that, but if it works, it works. I know he says that he gets more distance out of that crow hop style. So you guys, again, try this out after this video. Come back and let me know what works and what doesn't work for you. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, after we have the steps down, we're going to talk about where the disc should be in relation to what step you're on. So again, in the beginning of my little walk up, you probably have seen in my videos before that I kind of do something like this, like with my hand in the beginning. That's kind of like my getting into it steps, just like when I step multiple times before my 3 steps. So that might be different for you. You might just hold it still, or I don't know, you might flip your disc, something like that. But so this in the beginning, again, you don't have to do that, but that's what I do. So let's show you my steps and let's talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about the first step. When I'm stepping into it with my left foot, when you know, I'm doing my like first pre-steps and stepping into the left foot, I'm already like cocking my body forward and starting to bring it back at that point. So I'm kind of here and I'm bringing it back. When I step on that second foot, the right foot, is when my body is moving backwards, the disc is moving backwards in its cocking position. My hips, I'm turning them. You know, if I'm throwing this way, I'm turning this way away from the target, just so I can get more power when I pull through it at the end. And I also have this arm up, which I'll talk about that in a second. And then when that left foot comes down is when we're starting to pull everything forward. We have the hips rotating, like baseball, we have the hips rotating. We have the arm, which is not close to the body yet. It's out here because you really want to cock that back so you can get more power, but it's starting to come into the body. And then we have this elbow right here. So something that I was taught when I was a younger kid in baseball to do with that left arm that you're not throwing with, when you're coming through your throw, you're going to want to like pull it really hard in here, and just imagine that there's a smaller person right here and their head's there, and you're really, as hard as you can, you want to like hit that person in the face with your elbow. Little violent, I guess you could say, but it really causes your body to like be pulled through. So if you notice, when I'm here and my arm is up, what I really want to do, again with the hips and everything like that, I'm pulling it through. That's getting you much more power when you're throwing. And that's, you know, we haven't even talked about snap at all yet. Okay, so after you're in that position where you're getting ready to throw, you're gonna wanna keep an eye on like where your angles are with your arm, just because when you're coming through, you're not gonna wanna be like something like this super high. You're not gonna get any good angles out of that. What you're end up gonna do is have either no power, or you're just gonna like turn the disc over. So what I like to do is I throw super low to the ground, so you're always gonna see like my body down here. You're gonna want the disc lower than your elbow. I know that's something that Nate Sexton really tries to drill in when he's talking about forehands. Really gonna want that disc lower than your elbow. If not, if you're like holding it up here or anything like that, you're really gonna be turning things over, which is obviously something that you don't want to do. Just a flashback really quick to when I first started playing disc golf. I thought that I threw pretty far, but in reality, all I did every single throw was throw something super overstable with this kind of angle, coming out on anhyzer, flexing to, I don't know, 350, 400 feet. And that, you know, you have one shot if you do that. You can throw an anti-flex forehand. And to this day, I still struggle with those flat or hyzer flip shots that I really wish someone would have told me to stop, you know, throwing anhyzers like that when I first started playing, just because in the woods, you know, I really don't have that touch forehand, you know, the flat or the really long distance hyzer flip shots. If you're throwing a distance backhand, forehand, anything like that, you're gonna notice that people are getting their most distance when they're throwing hyzer flips, has more time to ride out as it flips up, rides that angle, and then comes back. You know, if you're throwing anhyzer, it's already on that second like wave of the flight, and then it's not gonna get that much angle. So after we're talking about angles, something that I cannot stress enough, and I haven't said it enough yet, is the power that you're gonna be throwing with your hips. If you don't throw your hips, honestly, everything is kind of gonna just like flop behind. There's not gonna be much power. Yes, you'll get a little bit of power because you'll still have that snap, but the hips are super important. Again, just like a baseball swing, you know, you really wanna put the hips into it. So I'm going to input a clip right here of Hannah throwing a forehand in one of our recent videos where she just didn't really put her hips into it. So what you're gonna notice is everything kind of lags behind. There's not gonna be any power, and it's kind of just gonna flop out of her hand almost with not much, you know, momentum or power behind it. So what you need to do is when you plant that foot, like I said, hit the small person here and really, really drive those hips as hard as you can. You're going to take this back leg down into the ground and pull the hips as hard as you can. And you know, a lot of people say that most of your power, well, I don't know, people might say that a lot of your power is going to come from the snap. It's true. But if you don't have these hips working, then maybe I can show you really quick. The disc, you know, it's going to be pretty weird. Like, sure, it went far, you know, it went, I don't know, 200 feet and pretty straight, but, you know, I was kind of just up and with no hips, you know, it doesn't drive that power that you really need. Okay, so after we talk about hips, snap, like I was just talking about, it is an important thing. So when you're here and you're ready to throw, you got to make sure that you're getting that snap with that wrist. If you don't, it'll look something like this. And again, the disc isn't going to go far. I'm going to try and put my hips into it without the snap. See if I can do it, but it'll be pretty weird. Without the snap, the disc is not really going to go anywhere. So you need to put both of those together, you know, to get all of that momentum behind you to get the disc, you know, some pretty good distance. Okay, so let's get into some important tips to keep in mind when you're throwing. A few things. Wrist roll, which is something that you're going to see very often. I still do it. You know, you might know that one person at the course who throws forehand and he's got a really overstable destroyer, and he's like, man, this is just way too understable. I need a new one, or I need something beefier. No, that's not true. You just roll your wrist, because I was that guy for a few years. I was taking destroyers, something very overstable, and when I came through, right, I was too high, and I would roll my wrist over when I finished. And if you roll your wrist over when you're finished, you know, you're going to get that Anheuser angle. It's obviously not going to come out on hyzer. You're going to get that Anheuser angle, and it's just going to roll, or it's just going to finish too hard left. And that's not, one, what the disc is really going to do if thrown flat or on some hyzer, or if they don't have that wrist roll at the end. So what you want to do is, when you're throwing, you want to keep that hand to the sky, palm to the sky, and keep it up when you throw. Try not to roll it over. I know it's very difficult not to. A good thing to do is to just sit there with some putters and just start throwing them. And you'll know exactly what's wrong if when you throw putters, simply because they roll, you know, they roll over, they turn easily. So if you can keep a putter on hyzer or straight, then you know that you're doing a good job. Another thing that you want to keep in mind, especially if you're a beginner to this, is practice with understable discs. Now the reason why I say that is same thing like the putters, it'll tell you what you're doing wrong. So if you're throwing your understable discs and every single one of them is rolling, then, you know, maybe you're coming too high above your wrist, above your elbow, maybe you're rolling. So keeping, using understable discs will make sure that you're keeping your angle correct, and you won't get used to just completely cranking over on those overstable discs, and then later down the line, you're not going to have that touch shot that you're going to always want. So when you really start to learn how to throw those understable discs, that's awesome. But remember that just because you know how to do it doesn't mean that in all wind conditions or every single course you need to throw an understable disc on all those shots. Sometimes you will need that overstable disc. If you have a stiff headwind, kind of like right now, headwind, I'm not going to throw an understable disc just because I can. I'm still going to throw something that's more overstable or something that's straighter than an understable disc, just because I know that for that condition, that's the disc that I need to throw. So make sure that even though you can throw that disc, you know, that understable disc, that you still remember that overstable discs are your friend. Someone that I really believe has probably the touchiest and the nicest to watch forehand on tour is Jeremy Colling. So if you guys just go on YouTube and Google Jeremy Colling forehand, or go watch any round that has him featured, his forehand is so touchy, and even if he doesn't have any tutorials out there, I don't know if he does, even slowing his form down, even if he doesn't have any tutorials out there, could be beneficial to you, just because I think he probably has the touchiest forehand on tour, which again is super important. Now I guess let's get into throwing some discs. One thing I forgot to talk about is, so you have two types of grips when it comes to putters or, you know, anything that you don't want to go as far and you want more control. So obviously there's the one that I called, you know, that I showed you guys before. And then you have here, which is called the fan grip. The disc, I don't believe is gonna go as far, but definitely will get more control, more accuracy when you're doing that. So sometimes when I'm close and I really need to make sure that, you know, I'm hitting a super small gap, I'll throw that fan grip just because, you know, like I said, more control. Alright guys, so thanks for watching my forehand tutorial. If you guys liked it, make sure you guys like this video and let me know in the comments below if any of this helped you. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I gotta go pick up my discs. Shout out to Throwback for this awesome bag. Honestly, I really enjoy it. It is super light on the shoulder. Also, crazy, it's all like, it's a cooler. I mean, on the side here, it's insulated. It's a cooler. Great. Pocket for your, you know, your putters. Nice foam pocket. It's also insulated. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up my discs. Watch that video over there that YouTube recommends for you. See ya.